Now, moving on to a bit of a more high-profile wide receiver that made his move in the portal yesterday. Kyron Hudson comes over from USC to Penn State. And then Penn State, talk about the good news for them yesterday. Quarterback Drew Allar announced that he's returning, a guy who could be near the top of the boards next year at the quarterback position when it comes to the draft. You'd have to think that these two moves were sort of connected, right? Hudson probably got some word that Allar was returning, made that decision a little bit easier. Some of you guys may remember Hudson for making that one-handed grab in week 1 against LSU. That went pretty viral. This is a guy from Mater Dei, one of the top programs in the country in California. 6'1", 205, 38 catches, 462 yards, and 3 touchdowns for USC this season. A lot of change at USC. Seems like a lot of guys going in and out over there for Lincoln Riley. But you got to really like this pickup here for James Franklin and Penn State. Someone coming in who's played a lot of football, and he's built well, man. He's a strong receiver.
Yes, what a change in the world, right? That we're talking about a receiver leaving Lincoln Riley for Penn State because of uncertainty at quarterback with the Lincoln Riley team, right? So it's a lot of change in the college football world. That's not a sentence that you would have expected a couple of years ago, but it is the reality. I think Drew Allar is going to be the preseason #1 quarterback in the country, certainly from an NFL standpoint. So to team with him makes a lot of sense. Penn State's needed receivers. It seems like forever Penn State has tried to get that receiver room up to par with what Ohio State has been playing with in the Big Ten. Now you have Oregon coming in the Big Ten, and they have extraordinary wide receivers. They added to Corian Moore, so they're going to have another true freshman sensation next year on top of what they already bring back. So you need to keep up with the receiver arms race in the Big Ten, even though, the conditions aren't always conducive to passing. So these teams are able to pass the ball like Ohio State and Oregon. You got to keep up. I think with this player, Hudson is a really, really tough guy. Comes from a great program in Mater Dei. He went to USC. He very much is a Big Ten type player. And look, I understand USC is in the Big Ten now, but what I mean by that, this is a Midwest cold weather type of player because he can make physical catches. He's very tough after the catch. He likes to block. He's a good blocker. Again, he comes from a really good high school program. So you bring him in to catch passes, to do one-handed catches like he did at USC. But you also need to fit that character of the team. And I think he fits in what Penn State wants to do. And Penn State is going to run the ball. Even if you have Drew Allar, they're going to run the ball. You're seeing them in the playoffs here. Their game plan is going to be to run it with their 2 outstanding backs. I don't see that changing over time, even as they become a more Drew Allar-centered approach. So you want to add guys that are tough and fit in with that, while at the same time adding receivers to your quarterback who you've convinced to stay and who's going to be potentially be a top 10 pick. By the way, I wonder how much of the pitch to make him stay had to do with, listen, you were this effective without having great receivers, and Penn State did not have great receivers this year, at least compared to their competition. Maybe James Franklin said, look, we are going to make sure that you have elite receivers if you come back. We got guys in the portal that we feel good about. We're going to get you some guys. You're going to be throwing it to a really, really strong cast of characters. You don't have to look at Ohio State and be jealous all the time of what Will Howard has or what, Stroud had before, or whoever it is, Cal McCord. You could feel good about what you have at receiver. And a guy like Hudson is a major step in that direction for Penn State of building around Drew Allar while maintaining their personality.
Yeah, that's why I said the timing of both of those announcements coming out couldn't have been any sort of coincidence. Definitely convinced each other there to come back and for him to come over from USC.
Yeah, and what I'm watching is that, just look at Penn State stats this year: 41st in passing yards per game against D1 competition. Obviously, the Big Ten is not the most pass-happy conference, but USC was number 9 in the country in that category. So he's going to want the ball. So it's going to be interesting to see, does Penn State become more of a pass-happy offense with a Drew Allar and these receivers that you are for sure selling on having a role catching the football, not only blocking for Penn State's outstanding running game.